When the episode kicked off and it was said that she just thought it was a dream, so they're playing it off and all the characters, obvious reasons, were going to let her think as such because, well, they are trying to compete for her love. I was honestly a little annoyed. I was like, God damn it, this is like the perfect opportunity. My boy Jordan went in, he secured that kiss. You know, the fiance angle was actually going somewhere. And then the end of the episode came along and satisfied my needs here. He went in again. He said, oh, you think it's a dream? Nuh-uh. We are done with this, will they, won't they? And the fact that she actually pinched her cheek and confirmed it was not a dream again, it's going to be interesting because she has no experience from her original life, romance to her is a very new playing field, and seemingly, if you watch the after the credits scene, it's like 5 seconds long, 6 seconds, something like that. It pretty much talks about how it foreshadows this was one route. It was like completion of a single route. And it's interesting because while I know it's going to be a very long game for her to actually have romantic scenes and things like that, it's nice that they actually made some progression in an episode that really wasn't dominated by Katarina herself, but rather Prince Jeffrey, and honestly, I didn't realize how much of a best boy he actually was. Back when we were having like the setup of who kidnapped her, what's going on, all the signs pointed towards Jeffrey being a scumbag. The person who wants power, screwing over the little guy, which just so happens to be the younger brothers, every sign pointed to him being a scumlord. Nope. Brocon. This dude is lovey-dovey for his brothers, and honestly, I thought they were just gonna go like full Katarina, like harem route with it, where he was just like, he was madly in love with his brothers. No, he's just a ride or die. He will do anything for his brothers, even if they're completely cold to him. He always stuck by them. And it's interesting because it makes total sense because the person who was responsible was just so obsessed with helping and promoting Jeffrey, and many people looked at the relationship between these brothers as very hostile and cold to begin with. So you can see the train of thought on why the kidnapping happened, people thinking as such. I mean, just look at the one prince's fiance, had no idea that the brothers were actually on good terms. So it actually covers its tracks while just being pretty wholesomely hilarious all at the same time. I mean, when he revealed that wall with all the pictures of his brothers, I was like, oh, yeah, of course, this is where we're going. And it was interesting to see just how distant all the brothers really were up until the point Katarina got introduced to them in terms of the Katarina that we know, who took over the game's antagonist role. The whole idea that Giordo just, his entire childhood wanted to see his mother, and there'd always be excuses. His maids would say, oh, if you're good, if you behave, she'll see you. And the excuse always was that the one brother was sick and the mother was too busy to see him. And the fact that they just constantly focused in on shots of him looking at like a mother and son dynamic outside of his own window as he was tasked at being alone and afraid, it was pretty heartbreaking. But it was kind of heartbreaking for all the different brothers, you know, being sick, not able to do much, and just seeing all the different perspectives and how their first interactions with Katarina, they had a very strong first impression, but it really did shape them into being different people. I especially loved Giordo's comment how, for him, Katarina was like the perfect fiance to stop him from having to have other options kind of go towards him. Originally, the plan was to use her so he could basically use her like a shield, but immediately was kind of drawn in by her carefree attitude and how she just pretty much said whatever was on her mind. And it's pretty interesting because I might go as far to say this is one of, if not the best Otome game episodes, period. I really thought, because Giordo's content alone was enough to really sell me on this episode, seeing the kind of backstory and just the whole Jeffrey angle I thought was incredible, but all the different brothers and the relationship with Katarina, it still sprinkles in that absurd, like, look at her harem, she's the black hole. I mean, at the end of the episode, it looks like they're ready to go, like, Street Fighter here. They're saying, hey, I have healing magic, use this type of magic so I can still revive him and not kill him, right? They were ready to throw some fists, but still, it was probably one of the best fleshing out episodes, period. It wasn't one of those things that you would call character development because this is all stuff that was already established for the characters. It was just revealing to us how deep their character designs actually go, and it's pretty surprising. I really didn't see a single person in my comment section anyway talk about how Jeffrey seems like a great dude previously. It was more of, wow, that kind of seems shady as hell. I mean, all these new characters, a kidnapping angle pops up. Of course it's going to be. And to see actually Jeffrey's fiance apparently and how, like, what she's able to do with her transformations and how she completely ignored Jeffrey's entire story, which it's understandable because I kind of imagine Jeffrey's the kind of character who at every single moment he can talks about his brothers and how much they mean to him. And I imagine this isn't the first time she's heard that exact same story. I bet every time they come into that room, he draws the curtain and says, hey, let me tell you about something about my brothers, about how much I love them. So her reading a book is to kind of be expected. It was just such a fascinatingly entertaining, amazing episode, and I really go far to say is a perfect episode of Otome game that hits all the right notes. I love her brain and how like they're actively saying like she has no experience with romance. There's so much self-aware humor, and the fact that there's actually moves being made, even though you might be able to argue, what, we're episode 5 into season 2 now, so like 17 episodes total, 18 episodes total into the series. I mean, you could argue the fact that it took her that long to realize that someone actually had feelings for her is pretty long. But had you told me that it would even happen in season 2, before it started up, I would have said you're lying. So, if we look at it from an outsider perspective, it seems like it took her a while to get there. But, if we look at it from a Otome game perspective, faster than probably many of us probably expecting. Will she probably find a way to, like, think around this? Probably. But, at the same time, I could easily see her now going the direction of, like, actively trying to avoid Jordo because she's so embarrassed and doesn't know how to respond to those feelings. And I'm curious if this will be the start of events where she starts recognizing other characters too may have feelings, and if that's the case, the snowball effect could be pretty catastrophic for a character who's not even able to deal with a simple kiss. I mean, I said it last week, or maybe it was a week before, like, if this character ever had to experience sex, like, her mind would explode. If a kiss made her think it was a dream, anything else is game over for her, and I mean, she probably would be re-isekai'd from just having a heart attack from experiencing any sort of pleasure like that. I mean, there's definitely been some pretty interesting characters introduced this season from, I mean, the previous arc with, I believe his name was Rufus, right? He was such an amazing character with his backstory really making you say, I want to see more of him, to now Jeffrey, the brother who I thought was just going to be a scumlord. I'm curious to see if there'll be any more characters that will be introduced at this point, or if we're just going to stick to the cast we now have established. Given the fact that it's a pretty hefty cast and size already, it would make more sense to not introduce any more. But at the same time, it's really interesting because they're definitely setting up more with the whole, hey, people are touching this black magic, we need to investigate, figure out what's going on, and how they figured out these secrets that only the higher-ups in the family should know about. So there's still a lot of twistedness that can pop back up. I mean, you don't kick a season off with kidnapping unless you're going to continue with the twistedness. But the fact that there's actually progression is a really great sign for this series and gives me very high hopes for where even a season 3 could potentially go, should the studio and production committee pursue it. Let me know your thoughts and feelings though on this week's episode, because I definitely think there's a lot to really appreciate, from appreciating the brothers standalone like even more to like the unexpectedness of how wholesome Jeffrey is as a character, to the fact that they bait us into the episode saying, oh yeah, she ain't gonna remember the kiss, it's a dream, to then reintroducing the kiss saying, bitch, you ain't gonna forget. A lot of great moments, so let me know what you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.